Hey, good morning. Good afternoon. I literally just got the email sent. It's been a little bit busy since I got back. I just returned from a week-long silent retreat in upstate New York, and I had the too rare opportunity to really stop and sit in silence continually, day after day, hour after hour. I was up around 4:45 each morning. And we sat pretty much in the silence. We sat from 5:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock each day, 9 p.m. each day. But the entire time is in silence with the opportunity to practice maintaining your presence, coming back to now and now. And in that extended silence, as I got to really watch my own mind, it became clear that every thought that I had, no matter what the thought was, if I really examined it, if I really contemplated my own mind, it's clear that every thought is some idea about gain or loss. And the major tenet of Buddhism and of a lot of spiritual paradigms is you'll often hear, actually many religions as well, are these ideas that there is no gain and no loss. And I know that we've spoken about this before, but I'm just going to come at it from a slightly different perspective today. How gain and loss are the causes of our suffering. All of our ideas around what I can gain and all of our ideas of what we're afraid to lose, be it love or independence, be it our own lives, our own health. These ideas around loss and these ideas around gain are the source of all suffering. And when you just come into observation of your breath, when you turn your attention inward and silently observe your own body breathing, you awaken to now. You awaken to your life here and now. And it is, as I wrote in the email that I sent just a moment ago, very late because I was away all last week and catching up after getting back. Now is spectacular. No matter how mundane it might seem initially. I mean, I am sitting, staring at the floor from 5:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night, every day, day after day. And the floor, the moment, the way the sunlight moves or the clouds come in and it gets dark and light, observing the continual change of the moment of now is spectacular. It is spectacular. And this particular retreat, I've had a lot of change and upheaval this year. And usually I can get into the silence. We start on Sunday evening at 7 o'clock. And usually sometime on Monday, I'm in the quiet, definitely by Tuesday. This time it took me until Thursday until I could actually feel quiet. But between Sunday night and Thursday, I did have this great opportunity to really watch my mind because I was very aware of it. I've been practicing this for 30 years. I started doing these extended retreats in 1999, I think, 1998, and got really serious and regular with the extended retreats in 2005. So it's been almost 20 years that I'm spending at least a week or two in total silence for that extended period and multiple weekends a year. So I've had a lot of practice and a lot of exposure to this. So I can actually sit and even though my mind is racing, feel some spaciousness from it and have the ability to observe my mind. And that's where I had this opportunity to really, again, it's not the first time. I've had this epiphany before, and I've read about it many times from all the teachers that we study. But every time you have the epiphany, it gets a little stronger in your bones. And this time it was just so clear how no matter what the thought is, it is some story about gain or loss. And what I lose in stories about a future gain or a past loss or a past gain and a future loss is I lose my life. I lose now. And as I'm always learning, and I'm often learning things I already thought I knew, because you don't know, I'm currently relearning about breath. I actually don't have it here because I just gave it to my mom, so I don't have it here. But I read recently that New York Times bestseller, Breath by James Nestor. I highly recommend this book. It is perhaps the most important book I've read in the past 5 years. And I read a lot of learning books. I try to read some fun stuff, and I love when I read fun stuff. I can't put it down, but I tend to gravitate towards learning for whatever reason. So I read a lot of pretty profound books, and I learn a lot. And for me to say that this might be the most important one I've read in 5 years is no small accolade for the power of breath by James Nestor. I highly recommend it. And in that, he references a breathing teacher named Patrick McEwen. And it just so happens that it has come to my attention that I never fully developed my face muscles, specifically the use of my tongue, that I've over depended upon my jaw. So my speaking, my swallowing, my breathing has been compromised. And I'm almost 50, so it's been a long time that these functions have not been strengthened. So I'm in myofunctional therapy. I'm learning how to rebreathe and stuff. And as part of that course and that therapeutic retraining, there's required reading of this teacher and this breathing instructor, Patrick McEwen. And so I've been exposed. I'm now reading his book, Oxygen Advantage. And as I'm reading it, I also tend to learn well by watching videos on YouTube. So I've been watching a bunch of Patrick McEwen interviews. And it's linked to down in the description below. But just this morning, so I had already started to draft this email on how all of our thoughts are about gain and loss. And I had already written the quote that's all the way at the bottom of the email. And it's in the email's in the description. The email I sent is in the description below. So there was a quote from here that I wanted to look at. And I'm listening to this video this morning as I'm just brushing my teeth and stuff. And he hits it. He nails it. This breathing teacher, and he's teaching about the dynamics of breath and how to breathe properly and the effects that has on your metabolism and your, your heart health and all sorts of the dynamics of our existence, of our physical health and well-being. In those books, at least as far as I've seen, he doesn't talk about mindfulness that much. And he quoted Oscar Wilde, and I have this in below. I actually sat there. This is why the email went out late, as I kept on listening to it and like kind of transcribing it as he said it. And this is all in the email below, as well as the link to the interview from which I'm quoting him. But he quotes Oscar Wilde, and he says, "Thinking is a disease." And I've heard this quote so many times. And this is my work. This is what I do, right? And it really drove home why I do this work. And I, for some reason, had just never put it together like this before. Thinking is a disease. I had taken it a little bit more flippantly. That's a disease. It's something that it causes us unease, right? But there's often a real utility, it seems, to thinking. And he made the point of like, how many people die of anxiety? How many people are on antidepressants? How many people are on anti-anxiety medications? How many people are on drugs or alcohol, or even a seemingly better addiction, achievement, work, busyness? How many people are on these drugs and it could be sex, it could be food, it could be adventure, What drug are you on to try to appease the pain of your heart and mind? Thinking is a disease. Thinking is a disease. So what do we do? This is where it is so great. This is as Patrick McEwen points out in the book Breath, or no, in his book The Oxygen Advantage, and he has a new book out which it seems like it is a little bit more comprehensive. I'm not up to that yet. I'm still working on The Oxygen Advantage. But as James Nestor says in Breath, right, like the cure for so many issues, from asthma to COPD to often weight and metabolism issues to heart diseases and cholesterol problems, may often, and the evidence is showing, be found in proper breathing. A totally free fix. If we fix our breathing, we fix so many of these other deep endemic health disorders, right? And that makes sense from a medical point of view. And so James Nestor, he's a Pulitzer Prizing, like, investigative journalist. He had no skin in this game. He just found it interesting. So he did the research and produced this page turner of a book. For a book about breath, it's a bit of a page turner, right? It has mystery, it has adventure, all sorts of things. Highly recommend. But that thinking is a disease, and to think about it as it's a literal disease. Our thoughts are the cause of our suffering. And what are the things that we do to try to alleviate our suffering? What are the things that you do to try to alleviate your suffering? Is it drinking? Is it work? Is it achievement? Is it love? Is it impact? Is it actual drugs? Is it food? The thought that the antidepressants and the anxiety meds that I am a big fan of, they're very efficacious for a lot of people. I mean, I worked on, back early in my career, I actually worked on one of the largest clinical trials ever done to date on treatments of depression. It was actually one of my more proud moments. I actually have my name. I'm one of 40 researchers, a little K. Broderick in there, in the New England Journal of Medicine. I believe it's the March 2006 New England Journal of Medicine. Like, I was working on a huge research project on the efficacy of SSRIs and other treatments for depression, medical treatments, and that they can be extremely efficacious. So, I have my real issues with modern Western medicine, and there's also a lot of great things about it, right? There's efficacy there, especially if you're suffering, and it's acute. Yet, these are diseases of the mind. Thinking, as what Oscar Wilde said, thinking is a disease. And what's incredible, as much as breath is a free and simple cure, no medication, no doctor's appointment, no prescription required, no payment required to breathe. And if you want tips on how to breathe better, it's in the link below. Patrick McEwen is definitely probably the foremost breathing teacher as of my current investigations into learning how to breathe. It's also the cure for the diseases of the mind that we're so often trying to alleviate by any means necessary. It's just a breath. So stop now. Cast your eyes down. Don't close them. Keep your eyes open to reality. Cast your eyes down. Look inward. Become physically very still. And just observe your breath. Close your mouth. Make sure your tongue is on the top of your mouth, on the roof of your mouth. If you say like N or nope or now, that's the N spot. It's right up here behind your front teeth on that hard little bit of palate. There's like a little ridge there. You want to have the tip of your tongue pressed there, but then the rest of your tongue pressed up. Otherwise, you're blocking your airway and your head will have to go forward. things that I've now learned, because my tongue was always resting low on my mouth and I always had this posture. I thought it was because I was too tall and I was trying to hear people, which also was true because I'd be tall and I couldn't hear the conversations. But so much of my bad posture was because my tongue was resting low. And when your tongue rests low, your head has to go forward in order to actually breathe and get the air into your lungs, because the tongue is blocking the airway. So you can actually, if you do like, the sound, the beginning part of that, you can suction your entire tongue up to the roof of your mouth. That's where your tongue belongs. This is the way that the breathing that you open up your airway. So lips are closed. Lips should always be closed. Breathe through the nose only. Tip of the tongue on that hard end spot, right behind the two front teeth, and then the rest of the tongue suctioned up, as if the movement right before you do the, right? Close the mouth. Breathe gently, softly through your nose. That lower belly breath that I talk about in so many of the other videos, that is key. Breathe from your lower belly. Softly, gently. And see if for even just a few moments you can stop thinking and just observe. Listen. Feel the breath coming in through your nostrils. Feel your belly expand and contract. That's the cure for the diseases of our mind. And the way that Mr. McEwen put it, that really is how it hit home to me in a new way, is so many of us die every year from the disease of thinking. How many suicides, overdoses? Thinking is a disease. I had never thought about it that way before. And if you examine your thoughts, every single thought is, if you watch your thoughts, you're sitting there breathing quiet, and all of a sudden thoughts start arising. Notice them. Question them. If it's similar to my experience, I found that every thought that arose, no matter how complex or simplistic, under it had some gaining idea about how my little ego identity could get somewhere else. But I'm here alive now. Or it was ruminating over some past stories and pushing my ego up, gaining more of my ego, or consoling a wounded ego for something that I lost, right? Gain and loss all over my brain, taking me away from the only moment I'm ever alive, which is now. So with these notes, I hope that you can join me Thursday, where we actually stop and practice for 15 minutes, becoming embodied and just breathing, staying in the now, returning to the now every time we get distracted, returning again and again to the precious now. If you don't already have the link is in the email I just sent out. But if you're watching this on YouTube and don't have it, you scroll all the way down. There's a link to the North Scale or you can just go to north-scale.com, and up on the top it says free meditation class. And if you sign up there, you'll get the link for the Zoom. And I hope to see you guys on Thursday, where we practice actually curing this thinking disease, right? It's always just a breath away, and your breath is always free and always available. With that, I wish you a happy, healthy, connected, alive week. And I'll see you next week. Thank you, guys. Bye.